part, that is kingdom Protista. All right. So in your syllabus, we have finished till kingdom Monera, and now in kingdom Protista, you have to take up a few things. Although I may explain you a little more in detail, but you will have to stick to just a few characteristics and two examples from the groups, that is chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. And in under protozoans also, we'll study about rhizopods, flagellates, ciliates, and sporozoans with two characteristics and their different mode of locomotion, and with the two examples of each. So this is what all you have to do in kingdom Protista. So that comes under the heading biological classification. We have already finished kingdom Monera. So here you see, children, protist. If you remember, I told you that there are five kingdoms which were classified by Whittaker under five kingdom classification. So the first we have finished, that was prokaryotes and unicellular. Now kingdom Protista consists of unicellular eukaryotes. So it includes the variety of eukaryotic and unicellular microorganisms. And if we understand, we can also see this your Protista as a link between prokaryotic monerans and multicellular eukaryotes, which is represented by fungi, and later on plant and animalia. But basically it brings a connection between monera and fungi. So here if you see photosynthetic protists, they are represented by unicellular algae. At the same time, heterotrophic forms may show slime molds and some protozoans. So here there are examples given. So there are characteristics and examples of subgroups that we are going to take up. So protozoans, they are to be studied as I told you under these heads: rhizopods, flagellates, ciliates, and sporozoans with the brief characteristics. And here you can see the variety of these protists which are present. So that includes amoeba, euglena, dinoflagellates, paramecium, diatom, slime molds, etc. All right. Now let us see the characteristics of Protista. As I told you, Protistians, they are unicellular eukaryotes, and they possess, since they are eukaryotes, so they possess membrane-bound distinct organelles like nucleus with their nuclear membrane and nucleoli, mitochondria, chloroplast in case of photosynthetic protist, and Golgi bodies and various other types of microbodies. Naturally, when they are photosynthetic, then only they will have chloroplast and all these structures. So photosynthetic forms have a distinct cell wall, and some protist, they are predatory protozoans. They have special organelles for intake of food and elimination of waste product. Now we move further, and we see the modes of locomotion. So there can be the presence of pseudopodia. As I told you, the example you have to take up, that is amoeba. So this pseudopodia, locomotion by pseudopodia, they are creeping type of animals, and the movement which they make is amoeboid. It takes place in with the help of protoplasmic outgrowths, which are pseudopodia. This type of locomotion is seen in sarcodines and slime molds. So pseudopodias are of four types: lobopodia, philopodia, exopodia, and reticulopodia, and they are present in these organisms, right? So then locomotion by flagella, that also is seen. They are the fine whip-like structures which are present. There may be one flagellum in case of euglena, or two in case of Chlamydomonas, or maybe more than two. So flagellal locomotion, it occurs in dinoflagellates, euglenoids, and zooflagellates, which we are going to take up. I have also tried to give you some extra information of these, which is not in your syllabus, but those who are preparing for NEET, they can take help from these notes. So now we see the mode of nutrition in case of protist. So depending upon their nutrition, they can be categorized into 6 types: photosynthetic or holophytic. So there are some protists which can synthesize their food with the help of carbon dioxide and water, because they can be doing photosynthesis. They are using solar energy in the presence of photosynthetic pigments like chlorophyll. So example here is dinoflagellates, diatoms, and euglenoids. And euglenoids, you understand, is again a connecting link between plant and animal, because it has both the characteristics of plant as well as animal. We are going to talk about this a little later. Holozoic and zootrophic nutrition in case of amoeba and paramecium. So they take the food in a holozoic form. They ingest the food. So that is called as holozoic or zootrophic nutrition. Then saprobic, in case of certain organisms, they secrete the enzymes in the surrounding medium where organic matter is converted into simple molecule which are absorbed through the body surface. Example, slime molds. Then next is parasitic nutrition. So some parasitic protists, they obtain ready-made food from other organisms, and that is called as parasitic nutrition. They are depending on other organism. They are providing the food to the parasite. Example is Plasmodium, Entamoeba, Trypanosoma, Giardia, and all are very important because they cause different diseases. Okay. Then mixotrophic nutrition, in case protists, they show mixed type of nutrition. That means I told you, like Euglena, they are autotrophic also and heterotrophic also. So they are a connecting link between plant and animals, and that is showing mixotrophic of type of nutrition. Symbiotic is when these organisms, they live as a symbiont in some other organism, and they are getting the food from the host body. They are secreting the digested matter, and then that is converted. So that is in the case of Trichonympha in termites and Lophomonas in wood roaches, etc. Then reproduction, protists, they reproduce asexually. So there are different ways by which they can reproduce asexually. Under favorable conditions, they can reproduce several times, and that can lead to population explosion even. And that can occur by binary fission. In binary fission, what happens is a parent cell divides into two daughter cells. So it occurs under favorable conditions, and they take place when the nucleus divides first and then the cytoplasm divides, like you have seen in case of cell division. Karyokinesis is followed by cytokinesis. After binary fission, each daughter cell becomes an independent organism. So it may be irregular in case of amoeba, transverse in case of paramecium, and longitudinal in case of euglena. You will have to see the details of this in class 12. Multiple fission, it is the division of the parent when the parent divides into number of daughter cells, and each contains one nucleus. So each daughter cell, it grows into an independent organism. Binary fission, binary means from one organism two daughter cells will be formed. Multiple fission, where from one organism several daughter cells are formed, and each each has the possibility to grow into an independent organism. Then next is budding. In some protists, a small outgrowth develops from the parent body, which enlarges in size, and finally it separates and develops into a new individual. So example is Arcella. So that is budding. Then cyst formation in case of Entamoeba. What happens that sometimes they reach unfavorable climatic conditions, and they form a thick resistant covering around them. That is called as cyst. Then plasmotomy, it is the division of multinucleate protists into two or more offsprings. Then spore formation, spores are also like propagules which are formed, and they have a protective cover so that they can bear the stress condition, and this is seen in case of slime molds. Okay. Sexual reproduction also occurs. Now, sexual reproduction basically means there is a exchange of genetic material, because here it is a very very elementary stage where the this sexual reproduction cannot take place on a large scale or manner. So sexual reproduction, it basically involves the fusion of two haploid cells, basically the gametes. So the fusion that is of these two gametes, the nuclei, that is called as fertilization or syngamy. It produces what? A diploid cell, that is called as zygote. So and after that it undergoes mitotic divisions to give rise a number of daughter cells, which will undergo various other divisions and to form a number of daughter cells. So the division is mitotic and meiotic division, which occurs to form several daughter cells. Syngamy can take place by three different ways. What are those three different ways? It can be through isogamy. Isogamy, iso means same. So the two, you can see the two fusing gametes. They are structurally and functionally similar. The only difference is one has a positive strain and the other has a negative. So whereas one will behave like a male strain and the other will behave like a female strain, and that is seen in case of monocystis. Second is anisogamy. The name tells the two fusing gametes, they are dissimilar. You can see the female is bigger and the male is smaller. So they are dissimilar. Example, seratium, and that is called as anisogamy. Then the third is oogamy. In case of oogamy, the large non-motile female gamete is fertilized with the small motile male gamete. You can see it is non-motile, right? And this is motile. So both these gametes, they fuse, and example is plasmodium. The process of meiosis is essential in case of sexual reproduction because it reduces the chromosome number to half in gametes, and this is something which you have done in your previous classes. This you have learned previously. After fertilization, the number is restored and is maintained constantly in a species. So that was the sexual reproduction in case of protist. Now we move further, we see how these protists are classified. So depending upon their nutrition, you can see that heterotrophs with no permanent locomotory apparatus, they come in Rhizopoda, Actinopoda and Foraminifera. These are certain examples. Okay, then the next is your photosynthetic protists. They include Euglenophyta, Chrysophyta, Rhodophyta, Phaeophyta, Chlorophyta, Pyrophyta. Then heterotrophs with flagella, that includes Sarcomastigophora and Celiophora. Children, you will have to learn all these. Non-motile spore formers, they are Epicomplexa, and heterotroph with restricted mobility, that includes Myxomycota and Oomycota, and the next is Acrasiomycota. But what I told you, the division, right, that only you have to keep in mind. You will learn only this is a little extra information which I am providing. You only have to see chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds and protozoans, right? Heterotrophs with no permanent locomotory apparatus, you can see they belong to different phylum. These are the you can say typical examples which are given. That group, they are called as different groups, and there are important characteristics which are summed up here. So if we see heterotroph, but there is no permanent locomotory apparatus, so that include amoebas, belong to phylum Rhizopoda. Example is amoeba, they move by pseudopodia. Then radiolarians, Actinopoda, radiolarians example, glassy skeleton, needle-like pseudopods. And forams, Foraminifera, forams is the example, rigid shell, they move by protoplasmic streaming. Then photosynthetic protists, they include dinoflagellates. So here the phylum Pyrophyta comes, and red tides. So about red tides also I will tell you when I will tell you in detail about these. So they are photosynthetic, unicellular, two flagella, contain chlorophyll A and B. Then euglenoids, phylum Euglenophyta, example Euglena. Some photosynthetic, others are heterotrophic. So some are autotroph, some are heterotroph. Unicellular, contain chlorophyll A and B, or maybe none. Then diatoms, Chrysophyta, they example is diatomaceous, you can say. Unicellular, manufacture the carbohydrate chrysolaminarian. Unique double shell of silica, contain chlorophyll A and C. Golden algae, that is from Chrysophyta, and example is golden algae, unicellular but often colonial, they live in colonies. Manufacture the carbohydrate chrysolaminarian, contain chlorophyll A and C. Then red algae, example is Rhodophyta, that is coralline algae, most multicellular, contain chlorophyll A and a red pigment. Then brown algae, Phaeophyta, example is kelp, multicellular, contain chlorophyll A and C. Green algae, Chlorophyta, and this example is Chlamydomonas, unicellular or multicellular, contain chlorophylls A and B. So this is about the different kinds of protist, right? Then there are some more typical examples like zoomastigotes, Sarcomastigophora, trypanosomes is the example, and they are heterotrophic unicellular, ciliate, Celiophora, example paramecium, heterotrophic unicellular protist with the cells of fixed possessing two nuclei, एक macronuclei and one is micronuclei. Many cells, they also contain highly complex and specialized organelles. Then non-motile spore former sporozoans. Example here is Plasmodium epicomplexa. Okay. Then here is non-motile unicellular. The apical end of the spore contains complex mass of organelles. That is the example. Then next is a heterotroph with restricted mobility, water molds that belong to phylum Oomycota. Water molds, rust and mildew are the example. Terrestrial fresh water is the characteristic. Cellular slime molds, then example is they belong to phylum Acrasiomyta, that is Dictyostelium, colonial aggregations, all that, and Plasmodium slime molds, Myxomycota, Fuligo, stream along multinucleate mass of cytoplasm. So from all this, you only have to take up what I told you in the beginning is in your course. Now let us see some major group of protists. So there we have discussed about all the kinds, all the groups, right? But then again, I am telling you what you have to take up. Chrysophytes, what we are going to discuss right now in detail. You have to take up few points of this. Dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans, right? That extra thing can be taken by the students, those who are preparing for NEET, right? Now this group include atoms and golden algae, that is desmids. Chrysophyta is the golden algae. Diatoms and golden algae are grouped together because they produce a unique carbohydrate that is called as chrysolaminarian, and this point was discussed there. You can see the picture also. So they are found in fresh water as well as marine environment. They are microscopic, they float passively in water currents, and they are unicellular organism with a double shell which is made up of silica, and which are often strikingly and characteristically marked. The shells of diatoms, they are like small boxes with a lid, one half of the shell fitting inside the other. There are two major groups of diatoms, one with a radial symmetry and the other with a bilateral or two-sided symmetry. They take their mode of nutrition is photosynthetic. Pigments which are present is chlorophyll A, C, fucoxanthin, xanthophyll. Locomotion by flagella, except it is absent in some reproductive stages, and reproduction can be asexual and sexual both. So that we have already discussed. And the significance is that the walls are embedded with silica and thus they are indestructible. Thus, diatoms have left behind a large amount of cell wall deposits in their habitat. This accumulation over billions of years is referred to as diatomaceous earth. And here the question can also come that why these diatoms, they are related, or why are they known for this diatomaceous earth? So because of this characteristics that their silicous fistules, they do not decay easily. They pile up at the bottom of water bodies and they form a bigger heap slowly and gradually, and this diatomite or diatomaceous earth is formed. It may extend for several hundred meters, which can be mined. Now there are some examples. Diatoms are the chief producers in oceans. That means they help in formation of food. Being gritty, this soil can be used in polishing, filtration of oil and syrups. So examples are Cimbella, Navicula and Coscinodiscus. Just two examples you can learn from here. Okay, now next is Pyrophyta, that is the dinoflagellates. The next group is Pyrophyta, which includes your dinoflagellates. All right, let us see the characteristics of these. They are majority of dinoflagellates. They are marine and they are some may be present in fresh water. They are unicellular forms. Cell wall has a stiff cellulose plate on the outer surface, and most of them, they have two flagella. One lies longitudinally and the other transversely. You can see in Serratium it is present like that. Okay, so Then nutrition may be photosynthetic. Reserve food is starch and oil. Pigments appear yellow, brown, green, etc. depending upon their main pigment which is present in the cell. They have chlorophyll A and C, and in addition to carotenoids. Then locomotion can take place with the help of these two flagella which are present, one encircling the body like a belt and another is perpendicular to it. By beating their respective grooves, they are able to rotate just like a top as it moves. Then what is the significance of these dinoflagellates is that very often they undergo such rapid multiplication that they make the sea appear like red tides. Okay, so the question comes, what is the red tide? So one member of this group, that is dinoflagellate, that is called as Goniolax, produces red tide in the sea. Sudden increase in their number at the sea makes this sea appear red, and they release a toxin which kills marine animals. So that is about the red tide. Toxins which are released, they are in large number. They can kill the marine organisms such as fishes. Most recently, a particular dangerous toxic dinoflagellate, that is Pfiestera piscidia, is reported to be a carnivorous ambush predator. Okay, so next is your some examples which are given here. Some planktonic dinoflagellates, they are luminous, that means they can radiate the light and contribute to the twinkling or flashing effect that we sometimes see in the sea at night, especially in the tropics. And example is Goniolax, I told you, Peridinium and Nautiluca. So these are the examples, and they are that is why we call this Nautiluca as the night light also. It is known as the night light also. Why? Because it is able to give its light. It contains a protein that is luciferin, and which on oxidation it produces light which is visible during night time. So we call it as night light. This also you must learn, that this Nautiluca, it contains a protein that is called as luciferin, and on oxidation of this it produces it produces a light which is visible during night, and that is why we call it as night light. Okay, other examples are there. This Goniolax, that is forming a red tide. Okay, and this Seratium, that is another example that you have seen here. Okay. Now, the next type is Euglenophyta, that includes euglenoids. So, euglena-like flagellates or euglenoids. So, they are freshwater organisms found in stagnant water also. The members of this phylum clearly illustrate the impossibility of distinguishing plants from animals among the protist. They devoid of cellulosic cell wall. Cell wall is not there. That is why they are not placed under plants. Interlocking proteinaceous stripes arranged in a helical pattern. You can see these striped structures which are present here. So that is called as pellicle. So this is present, which lies within the cell membrane of the euglenoids. Because its pellicle is flexible, a euglenoid is able to change its shape because of this pellicle which is present. Then nutrition, about a third, approximately 40 genera of chloroplasts, they are fully autotrophic, and others they lack chloroplast. They ingest their food heterotrophic. Some euglenoids with chloroplast may become heterotrophic. Then the pigment which is present is chloroplast, and like those of green algae plants that contain chlorophyll A and B together with the carotenoids. Then locomotion. So locomotion takes place with the help of flagella, right? That I told you in the beginning. Then eye spot, the stigma, an organ that also occurs in the green algae, that is light sensitive, and it helps in photosynthetic organism to move towards the light. So there is an eye spot which is present in these euglenoids, which helps them in this activity specifically. Okay, then they have contractile vacuoles. So they collect excess water from all parts of the organism and empty it into the reservoir, it helps to regulate osmotic pressure within the organism. Some examples here are Euglena, Ficus, Astacia, and Trachelomonas. So these are certain examples of the euglenoids. Then we move to the next part, that is consumer decomposer protist, and they include slime molds. So this is another category of euglenoids where the consumer and decomposer protist are there. All right. So now we are going to discuss in detail about this consumer decomposer protist in our next session. So I hope it is clear. I told you, you have to understand all this in detail, but you will learn only the points which I told you that you have to take up. I hope it is clear till here, children. Next part, we will continue with the consumer decomposer protist, that is slime molds. Okay, thank you, children.